Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 20 of the Lose It podcast. This podcast is tailor-made for those of you with weight to lose, those of you that are losing weight now, and those of you that are bathing in the success of your weight loss achievements and looking for strategies to maintain the results that you have already accomplished in the pounds that you have already shed. If it's your first time on the podcast, I greatly appreciate you being here. My name is Nick. I'm your host, and 5 years ago, I lost 110 pounds after a lifetime of gaining and losing weight. Welcome to the Lose It podcast in the Lose It community. Our Instagram has continued to blow up recently. We're up to 140,000 followers and just hit 90 days of posting. So exactly 3 months ago, I had no following on the internet, and the community had no following on the internet. And now we're here growing and just spreading the message of the realities of losing weight with a focus on sustainability and how to maintain the results instead of just gaining them back after losing them. There's so much in store for this community right now. I'm in the process of hiring more team members for the team that I'm building. And these team members are going to be really focused on helping us produce more content than what's coming out right now on some different platforms. Right now, we're really just on Instagram and then TikTok a little bit, but not really. But we'll be expanding to YouTube. There's been a lot of people asking for longer form content on YouTube, so that will be coming in the next couple of months. We'll also be expanding to some written content on Twitter and also on X built into Instagram. So look for those two things. But the really big thing that's coming, if you're someone that follows me on Instagram stories, then you've heard me talk about this a couple of times. The really big thing that's coming is a community on the platform called Skool. It's Skool. And I'm in the process of building right now. This is my major project outside of daily content, podcasts, and my normal full-time job and the other realities of living. So I've been quite busy recently, but all of my other time is going towards building a community online that has a built-in 12-week weight loss program and also has a built-in weight maintenance program. It's basically going to be a Facebook group on crack. Imagine a Facebook group where you go and are engaging with other people that are either at the same part of the program or different parts of the program that you're at. You're making friends and meeting other people that are doing the same fucking thing that you are. Every week when you're in the program, you have a customized video that's speaking specifically to where you're at on week 1, week 7, week 12, or on any of the maintenance weeks. It's going to be very customized, and there's going to be live Q&A and coaching calls twice every single week. This is my entire life's work. I'm actually pretty emotional in making it because I'm realizing that everything that I have learned over the course of gaining and losing weight for like 6 or 7 consecutive years before finally losing 110 pounds and keeping it off, every single thing that I've learned and obsessed about is going into this community and is also going into this program that's kind of built into the community. But more to come on that. It feels to me like I'm writing a book about my life story and putting it out to help other people achieve the thing that I achieved, but in a way that's way more efficient and less strenuous. Because I really lost myself on this journey. It took over too much of my life. What my life is committed to now, and what I am committing to, is helping other people get the same results or better results, if that's something that you're looking for, without having it be so fucking stressful on your body, without having it have to consume so much of your entire life. So if that's something that you are interested in, stay in touch on Instagram. It'll be formally announced here in the next couple of weeks. And I'm really excited to have some of the podcast listeners in that community because y'all message me all the time about the podcast. And I'm really excited to have more live calls with you and to help you through the specific things that you're struggling with on your journey. Today's episode is going to be a little bit shorter, and it's about everything that I eat in a day 5 years after losing 110 pounds. Now, I get asked this question all the time, and I want to come out and say that a diet that works for me is not necessarily a diet that works for you. The most important thing in weight loss, I get sick of saying it, but I have to. The most important thing in weight loss, you've heard it before again and again and again, but it's important, is that you are in a calorie deficit. That means that your body consumes less calories than your body burns. For me, And for sustainable weight loss, there has to be a focus on quality of food as well. This is something that is really missed in diet culture, and this is something that's really missed by all of the fitness influencers that you see online that were never actually fat themselves, because they don't relate so much to the actual the relationship with food side of things. They're more of the eat less, move more to lose weight. And though that works, what it doesn't take into account is that you could eat 5 scoops of protein powder and 5 Twinkies every day and still lose weight because you'd be in a calorie deficit. But those foods, you're not getting any of the right nutrients outside of just the calories and the protein, right? So if you had 4 Twinkies and 4 scoops of protein powder, that might be 1,700 calories a day with 140 grams of protein or whatever that looks like. I'm totally pulling that number out of my ass. You might hit your macros eating that shit, but you're going to feel horrible. Imagine if you only ate Twinkies with protein powder and water, and you hit 1,700 calories and 150 grams of protein every day. On paper, that might be a good calorie and protein goal, depending on what your height and your weight and your gender and your activity level are, but the quality of the food is really fucking low, and you're not getting any variety at all. So the idea of calories in, calories out is true, but what it doesn't take into account is the quality of the calories in impacts the calories out. Here's what I mean by that. If you just did the Twinkies and protein powder diet, you're going to feel like shit, and you're not going to be able to actually stick to the diet long term. Then you end up cheating on your quote-unquote diet and eating other bullshit foods. This is what people do with the chicken and broccoli diet too. You end up just going, fuck, oh my God, I don't know what to do. I just want some other foods. Yeah, because you're eating so fucking bland. Mix some other foods in there. So it just makes the diet is less sustainable when you're only eating 2 or 3 fucking foods. So my strategy for diet now, and I think it's funny that it's so built into language and diet culture that even I am still using the word diet when I shouldn't be. So caveat there. I eat really healthy, and it almost says more that eating healthy foods means that I'm on a diet. Like the fact that people think that I'm on a diet, and in a way I'm even saying that I'm on a diet even though I'm not, because it's so built into fucking the media that I consume all the time. But I'm not on a diet. I just eat healthy foods, and it says a lot about society that me eating healthy foods is considered dieting. What does that say about us? Here are the foods that I eat that are mostly whole and nutritious foods that actually make me feel good, that I could easily change the calorie intake on, or the macros on, or the volume on very easily without having to buy new ingredients. You'll notice that I mostly eat the same foods probably 5 days a week. That's by design. Most people spend about 10 minutes per meal trying to figure out what they're going to eat. That is 30 minutes per day, 210 minutes per week times 4 is 840 minutes per month. That's 12 hours per month, or a little over 1/4 of a work week. 1.5 full business days per month of time consumed on scrolling on DoorDash or Uber Eats, walking to the refrigerator multiple times, thinking that some food is just going to appear if you just keep looking in the fridge or the freezer or the cabinet. Maybe you'll see something that you didn't see before. The food isn't going to appear. If there's so much food in your fridge or your freezer that you're looking under things to see where things might be hidden that you forgot about last month, that's probably a problem. And that's a good sign that you don't have a good relationship with food. And that's okay that that's where you're at right now, but it's not okay if that's where you're at in 6 months. So let's start making steps in the right direction by eating healthier and nutritious foods that actually fit into our calorie goal. My go-to breakfast every day is what I call a shittier version. It's a Greek yogurt bowl, but I prefer to call it a shittier version of chocolate ice cream, even though it's not chocolate ice cream. And I get hate for that all the time, but what those people that hate on it don't take into account is that to me it tastes the same, gives me the same pleasure as chocolate ice cream does, because I've been eating it for so long. Your palate changes over time, and when you stop eating bullshit or you start eating substantially less bullshit, you stop having the intense cravings for it. So when I tell you what's in this bowl, you're going to think, that doesn't sound like chocolate ice cream. It didn't to me either, but now I've been eating this every day for like 18 months or almost 2 years, and it's fucking chocolate ice cream, man. I don't care what anybody says. Here's what it is. 1/2 cup of non-fat, it's a 3/4 cup serving, 1 serving of the little bowl. So 3/4 cup serving of non-fat Greek yogurt, and I mix in a tablespoon of cacao powder, chocolate cacao powder. That's a single ingredient. It's non-man-made, non-processed. That's the word that I'm looking for. Mix that in there to give it a little bit of chocolate flavor. I mix in 1 scoop of protein powder. I'm pretty far down the rabbit hole of wanting to eat organic and single ingredient foods because they are better for you in the long run, but they can be more expensive and sometimes they're just hard to find. So any protein powder will work, but I use just plain grass-fed whey, unflavored. So if your palate is not good with unflavored things, I would maybe put some chocolate protein powder in here. So I'm doing the non-fat Greek yogurt, cacao powder for taste, protein powder, do chocolate protein powder if you need more flavor. I add about a half of a teaspoon or a half of a tablespoon of honey or organic maple syrup. I eyeball that at this point. I add a half cup of frozen blueberries, a half cup of frozen raspberries, and I mix all of that up. The key is to get the frozen blueberries that are called Wyman's. They have them at basically every grocery store, at Target, Walmart, Whole Foods, because they're really small. They're about the size of chocolate chips. And when they're mixed with the cacao powder or the chocolate protein powder, if that's what you're using, they taste like chocolate chips when they're frozen. That is factual. That's not a palate adjustment. They actually taste like chocolate chips because of their size, and they get coated in the chocolate stuff. You mix that all together and eat it. You are essentially eating non-fat Greek yogurt, which is really high in protein and low in calorie, and berries and natural sugar. So I've talked a lot about sugar, but you're getting full natural sugar sources that are high in fiber. None of that food is processed besides the protein powder technically is processed, but if you eat single ingredient protein powder, it's going to be substantially less processed. But if the worst food that you're fucking eating is protein powder for a meal, that's pretty fucking good because most people consider protein powder a health food because it's packed with protein. There's elements of that that are really true. That is a solid breakfast where I am getting about 400 calories. If I wanted to adjust the calories, I could take out the honey. I could eat a little less berries. I could do a half scoop of protein powder instead of a full scoop to save 60 calories. If I want to add more to that, more volume, I'm just going to increase the amount of non-fat Greek yogurt, add another half cup of non-fat Greek yogurt for another 70 calories and 12 grams of protein or whatever that might be. So think of how adjustable that meal is. That meal cost me about $3.40, depending on the exact way that I make it, but that is typically how I make it. There are some times if I do a really hard workout where I will eat that meal for after dinner, before bed as well. That meal has got, I think that meal has about 400 calories and maybe 350 calories and about 40 grams of protein. It's got some carbs for fuel, and all those carbs are from natural sources, fruit and honey, which feel really great. Great way to start your day and kickstarts your day into healthy eating and thinking about being in the right mindset to eat healthy. How you start your day really matters. For lunch, if I'm eating from home, which I do probably 5 days a week, usually on the weekdays, I actually just changed this a few months ago. So if you've been following me since the beginning, this is going to sound a little different. And it's important to highlight that your diet changes over time. But for me, since I mostly eat the same things, I save that 10 minutes per meal and try to figure out what I'm going to eat. And I get a lot more fucking time back. But you'll notice I'm also getting a huge variety of ingredients in all of these meals. So here's what it is. A half pound of deli chicken. I get thick cut deli chicken from Whole Foods. There are a few preservatives in here. They use onion powder as a preservative. So that's not a very bad preservative. There's no nitrates in the chicken, and it is free-range chicken. Again, these things don't matter for weight loss. For overall health, it's good to do these things if you're in a good financial position to spend $8 on a half pound of chicken. So this is a more expensive meal. If you're not, there's way cheaper ways to do this. But let me explain the meal first. I do a half pound of deli meat, cold served chicken. I do 1 hard-boiled egg, cut it in half, put a little salt, put a little pepper on it. I do a full apple, a big one. I do 1/2 of an orange. I have some tzatziki sauce that I get that is pre-made. Again, from Whole Foods. You can make this from home for about 1/10 of the cost with just some dill and some water. I think that's all that's really in it. And some seasoning. And I dip the chicken and the eggs in there, and then I do 1 ounce of cheese. So I buy 8-ounce blocks of cheese, and I just cut them into 8 pieces. So I know there's about 1 serving for each one, and I throw them all in a piece of Tupperware and throw it in the fridge. So I'm getting a lot of protein and a pretty minimal amount of calories in this meal. Think of how low calorie all these things are. Half pound of chicken, not a lot of calories, really high in protein. Apple, low in calories, but great natural energy and sugar source. Lots of good energy and good carbs. An orange, extremely low in calories, same thing as the apple. Good energy source. These foods give me energy the same way that coffee does. They don't make me feel tired like when I go and eat an actual bowl of ice cream or when I go and eat some french fries and a cheeseburger. So think about eating these foods and how you might have more energy throughout the day. When you start associating healthy foods with healthy feeling, that's when you make permanent and sustainable change. Tzatziki sauce, there's basically nothing to it. I use like 2 tablespoons of it. There's 20 or 30 calories in it. It's basically just yogurt dill with some different seasonings and water and a little bit of Greek yogurt mixed in there. So very, very minimal calories there, but a big flavor enhancer. And then hard-boiled eggs are actually something new that I've added to my diet recently, just in trying to get more natural ingredients. I'm pretty far, again, down the health rabbit hole, so I'm beyond the weight loss side of this. From a weight loss perspective, eggs are not very high in calorie, but they are high in protein, and they're high in good fats, whole eggs or hard-boiled eggs. So you're getting a lot of nutrition there that's making you feel very full. But for me, I'm really interested in the longevity of eggs and the health benefits that they offer in terms of your healthy cholesterol, in terms of your nails, your skin, your hair, and those sorts of things. But if that's not where you're at yet, that's okay. You don't have to be. And you might never want to be there. And that's okay if you just want to look at, am I eating good foods and about the right calories and the right protein? That's totally fine. I put all of those foods out, half pound of chicken, 1 egg, 1 whole apple, 1/2 of an orange, 1 ounce of cheese, and my tzatziki sauce on the side on a massive plate. And it looks like a fucking feast. And I eat it all for like 600 calories. There's like 600 calories in that and a shit ton of protein. I don't even know off the top of my head. Well over 60 grams of protein in that meal. No, maybe there's less. There's about 500 calories and about 50 grams of protein in that meal. Gosh, I don't know why I don't have it written down in front of me. It's a low calorie, high protein, high volume meal. And it's something that's very flexible. You don't want to spend that much money on that chicken? That's fine. Go get a rotisserie chicken from Walmart and eat half of the rotisserie chicken. It'll cost you about $2. You just save $7 on that meal. You don't want to eat the block of cheese the way that I eat it? That's fine. Substitute something else in there. So what I like about that meal is it's easy to increase the calories, decrease the calories. All of the foods are mostly single ingredient foods for the most part, besides a couple of them that are really low calorie anyway and that still have healthy ingredients that don't make me personally feel like shit. And I eat that meal and I feel really refreshed. My last meal of the day is a meal that I've been eating every day for like 2 years. And this is my cream of the crop staple meal. It is the best meal for flexible dieting, whether you're trying to lose weight or gain weight or maintain weight. Mastering the stir fry will benefit you in every single way. Stir fries have 3 basic ingredients. They have meat, they have carbs like rice, and they sometimes have vegetables or a side. I do not personally eat very many vegetables because all of the vitamins and nutrients in vegetables can be found in both red meat and fruit. I also just don't really like the taste of most vegetables. So there is a big controversy right now on whether or not you really need vegetables in your diet. I have found that I feel phenomenal eating very minimal vegetables, but you'll notice that I eat a lot of fruit, right? Just with breakfast and lunch, I'm at raspberries, blueberries, oranges, and apples. That's 4 servings of fruit in the day so far, and I'm just now getting to dinner. Here's how I make my stir fry. I do a half pound of beef. I do 85% beef, so it's a little bit fattier. If you're looking to lose weight, I would eat leaner beef, like 93%. And I cook a half pound of that in about a tablespoon of ghee. Ghee is basically butter. But beef tallow also works. I just don't cook in oil. Oil is really, it's not just that it's high calorie. Ghee and butter are really high calorie as well. But there's a lot going on about how oil right now is essentially an anti-nutrient is the food that people are using, in that it's making it harder for you to absorb specific nutrients from other foods. Now, again, I'm really far down the rabbit hole of this, and this goes beyond weight loss, so you don't have to listen to this piece. You don't have to take this point into account. But just know that there are certain foods that it's just really easy to overeat on. Oil's one of them. And there's certain foods that humans haven't been eating for a long time. Oil is something that used to be used, like canola oil. Look up canola oil. It's Canadian oil. Canola oil was created in Canada. It was an industrial lubricant that the United States funded the Canadian government. Really look this up. To make more oil for us during manufacturing in World War II so that we can have more oil for our ships to function. Oil wasn't something that humans were consuming. Oil was something that was used in machinery. They then had so much of it after the war and nothing to do with it that they found a way to change the chemical compound so that humans could actually digest the oil. That's how we got to canola oil. It's Canadian oil. That is literally what the CAN is, Canadian. There's a weird history with oil where it's like we've only been really consuming it for about 80 years, and humans have been eating real foods for 100,000, like beef for 100,000 years. So I am going to stick with, this is my diet philosophy in terms of just overall health, not weight loss, the foods that humans actually thrive on, and oil's not one of them. Animal products are absolutely those products. There are absolutely some of them. And the fact that that's controversial is kind of crazy. We've been really gassed up to think that we should be going vegan because animal products are bad. We've been really gassed up to think that fruit is bad for us because of sugar. When you actually go down the rabbit hole of researching, again, I'm really deep into this stuff. If you're just trying to lose weight, this might be a little too much right now, so bear with me. But if you really go down the rabbit hole of researching all of the anti-sugar stuff and all the anti-meat stuff, and who paid for that? It's the fucking sugar companies, man, and it's the companies that are making money from people not eating meat. It's the cereal companies. It's total horseshit. Most of what we have been taught on the food pyramid, there are different food pyramids that the U.S. government has supported that literally put fucking cereal as healthier than red meat. What in the fuck kind of cereal is better for you than a product that humans have been thriving on since the beginning of fucking time? That's bizarre. Let's get back to the basics of what our bodies actually need. And meat is one of them. If you're a vegan or you can't eat meat for religious reasons, that is tough, and you're just going to have a little bit of a tougher time. You're going to have to be a little more dialed in on really making sure that you're getting the right nutrients and counting things out a little bit better. That's not the position that I'm in. I eat a lot of meat, as you're going to hear in this, but my go-to stir fry is a half pound of 85% red meat. I do an entire sweet onion, and I cook that in ghee. I cook those together, and then I just put salt on it, and that's it. That's mostly how I eat that meal. And probably half the time, I throw rice in there, depending on how active I was throughout the day. I'll throw in a half cup of rice, and I use microwave rice because it's easier, but I don't actually microwave the rice in the microwave rice container. Microwaved rice is already cooked, so I just scoop it out of the container when it's cooked and put it in the microwave on a plate, or just put it straight into the stir fry, depending on how specifically I'm cooking it that day. To make that meal higher calorie or lower calorie, very simple. You want lower calorie, instead of 85% beef that's 240 calories per serving, use a 93% beef that's, I think, 160 calories per serving or 180 calories per serving. So you just saved on 2 servings, half pound, so 8 ounces, you're saving 300 calories right there with basically the same volume of food. So your body's not going to really feel the difference in looking at it because it looks the same. You want to add more calories, add rice. You want to subtract calories, eat it with less rice, no rice, or add cauliflower rice, or add frozen vegetables like broccoli to get a lot of volume for no calories. That's a meal that you can make really cheap. If you're not doing organic meat, go to Walmart and get the 3 or 5 pound meat rocket, the 80% meat there, just eat a little less of it, and you can make that stir fry for probably $3.50. Cheap meal, something that you can bust out, that you can prepare in bulk, throw in the fridge or the freezer. If you just bulk cook the meat, throw it in the fridge or the freezer, and then pull it out and stir fry the already cooked meat with your raw onion that you're chopping up with your frozen vegetables. You bust out a stir fry with about 15 minutes of upfront prep for the 3 pounds of meat that you cook, and that's going to make you 6 servings of a half pound if that's where you're at. Maybe you eat a little more, a little less than that, and then every time that you reheat it, it takes you about 5 minutes to cook, maybe 6. So for 6 minutes per meal, you make a stir fry. For 4 minutes per meal, you make the chicken snack plate with the fruit, and for 74 seconds per meal, you make the bullshit version of chocolate ice cream Greek yogurt bowl. There are cheap and expensive ways to eat both of those things. There are all 3 of those things. There are high and low calorie ways to eat all of those things. Those meals are extremely flexible. You don't like certain ingredients, you can transition those ingredients very, very easily to fit whatever your goals are. There are ways to eat those foods organically or non-organically, but either way, All 3 of those meals are made of mostly real food, mostly food that occurs with just 1 or 2 ingredients and doesn't have 30 plus ingredients in it. You think that non-fat Greek yogurt bowl sounds bad? You think that bullshit ice cream sounds bad? Go look at the back of a fucking pint of Ben & Jerry's and just count how many ingredients there are. You think that stir fry sounds bad? That has 3 or 4 ingredients? Go look at a McDonald's cheeseburger and just see how many ingredients there are. The ingredients aren't bread, meat, cheese, and lettuce. There's about 30 other things in that McDonald's cheeseburger that you don't even know about that you might not be able to pronounce. A really good rule to follow is if you look at a nutrition label and you can't pronounce the ingredients, it's probably not a great food for humans to be eating. Again, that has less to do with weight loss and more to do with how you are feeling. All of the foods that I just mentioned actually make me feel good. I look forward to eating them most of the time. I don't put any thought into what I'm going to eat because I have all 3 of these meals ready to go in less than 7 or 8 minutes at any time. So when I'm crunched for time, that's not a factor. If I don't know what I'm going to eat, that's not a factor because all those things are ready to go right now in my refrigerator. I leave nothing up to chance. I leave nothing up to last minute. How am I feeling? I'm going to decide what I'm going to eat at the time, any of that kind of shit. That's what I eat from home about 5 days a week. There are other days when I go out to eat. I probably eat out 3 to 4 meals per week, probably 2 to 3 meals per week total, depending on how much I'm traveling for work. And in a future podcast episode, I am going to do an episode on how to navigate eating out alone or with friends or on the road or traveling or anytime that you're not home and don't have access to your specific meals that you eat the most regularly. The best thing you can do for weight loss is come up with 2 or 3 meals that you actually like enough to eat regularly that are made of mostly whole foods. They don't have to be entirely these whole foods that are organic. Like, fuck all that. Just made of foods that humans actually have been eating for more than the last 50 years, right? So not a fucking McDonald's cheeseburger, not a how do I make my deep fried chicken sandwich low calorie, high protein because I saw this recipe on TikTok. Like, fuck that for a second and think about what are some single source, single ingredient foods because they're going to give you energy in a way that you've never felt. And there's not as many crashes associated with these real foods. There's also just less preservatives in them that are going to help you sleep better. When you sleep better, you'll control your cravings more. The best thing you can do for your diet, weight loss, your body, your future, and your overall health is to eat more real food. And when you start eating more real food, and when you start coming up with 2 meals, write them down on a piece of paper. For me, it's really stir fry and snack plates, and the third one is Greek yogurt bowls. Steal those 3, or come up with 3 other ones, and write them down on a piece of paper. Figure out the exact amounts of how you like to eat them with each ingredient. Figure out how many calories, how much protein, and what any other macros that you really need to track for whatever health reason are in there. And now you never have to count calories again because you just already know that there's 700 calories in the stir fry the way you like it. And should you decide you want to lose weight or gain weight or maintain weight later, you just increase or decrease the volumes or the fat on the meat without changing the volume too much, right? These meals are very, very flexible. And when you realize that you can eat the same foods over and over again with slight variations day to day, change up the seasoning on the stir fry if you get bored of it. Add some frozen broccoli, frozen asparagus, frozen Brussels sprouts instead of the onion with the stir fry. Add some rice. If you don't like rice, you get bored of it, add some cauliflower rice, different flavor. Add some low-calorie sauce. Is that a whole natural food? Probably not, but it's fine. It's fucking sauce. Don't demonize the food. Just because a food is bad for you doesn't mean you need to be afraid of it. Just because a food isn't helping contribute to your goal exactly specifically because there's 10 more calories in it than the 0-calorie alternative. If you like the flavor, that's fine. It makes it more sustainable. Give yourself some grace. Write down on a piece of paper what your 3 meals are. Figure out the nutrients in those meals, and then send them to me on Instagram in a DM, and I will be your accountability buddy. If you made it to the end of the podcast, I greatly appreciate you being here. Please leave us an honest review on whatever platform you're listening on, Spotify or Apple. Reviews really help other people gain access to this content, and it helps the algorithm push this content out to other people that would benefit from having a healthier relationship with food and from adopting a mindset that will help them lose weight and actually keep the weight off. Hope everyone has a great rest of your week, and we will see you next Wednesday.